Are you looking to expand your mind? Do you like to challenge and be challenged? Looking to improve yourself and share your experiences professionally and personally? You're in the right place. Welcome to Scoutcast, Roasting Marshmallows, with your host, Rolf Surd.
And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Scoutcast. My name is Rolf Surd and I'll be your host. So a sentiment shared by CEOs, HR management, and sometimes the bad guy in the movies when he's ultimately defeated by the hero is, it's hard to find good help these days. So how does one find the right person for the job? That is what we're talking about on this episode, recruitment. Today we're roasting some marshmallows with Dominika Sawa. By day, she's a recruiter and partner at Van Storm, a recruiting and contracting company founded by a group of like-minded enthusiasts who believe that recruitment can be stress-free and fun. Van Storm does recruitment for the maritime sector, from yacht building and shipbuilding to offshore and ports and dredging, including marine equipment with special attention to positions that focus on sustainability. On her diploma, it says she's a Spanish teacher and translator, and other than that, she's a cat lover, traveler, veggie baker, and cook. Today we will talk about recruitment with Dominika, what she does to bring the right talent to the appropriate challenge for her clients. Welcome, Dominika.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Cool, welcome to the show. I think you're the first lady that we're having on the show, so congrats on that feat.
Congrats to us.
Yeah, or congrats to us as well, yeah.
Or shame on us for not doing this sooner.
For sure. So, you guys are already hearing Panche. You're also here. Welcome. You also have some experience with recruitment in the past, Panche?
Yes, thanks, Rolf. Yeah, right. So I ran a company and office in Macedonia for about 5-6 years. So I was doing part of recruitment for, in all stages of recruitment for that company. Then later on in other roles, I've been a recruitment manager. So always worked with other recruiters.
All right.
So,
cool.
This is also a very dear topic to me.
Yeah.
It was one of the aspects of my work that I actually enjoyed.
Cool. And we also have Enrique on the show. What's your experience with recruitment, Enrique?
Well, I can almost call myself a full-time recruiter now because I'm basically recruiting quite a lot for our customers. And I think in the past few years, we have been trying to recruit also for Scouts. So I've been involved in this process, quite a lot. But I wouldn't call myself a recruiter. But I'm doing quite a lot. And it's always a huge discussion for me. And I'm quite interested to see how I can learn from this.
Yeah, I'm very curious as well. So Dominika, could you maybe explain to listeners what it is that you're exactly doing?
Yeah, of course. First of all, I'm quite surprised to hear that you guys have so much experience in recruitment as well. I was not aware of that. So I have quite a competition. Usually I don't call myself a recruiter. I rather say that I work in recruitment because I think that recruitment is quite a complex industry and it entitles a lot of levels, a lot of phases. Mm-hmm. And you can be more or less focused on each one of them or all together. So I've been working in recruitment for the maritime sector for around 10 years. And I'm personally focused on the yacht building. So quite a niche focus or market, which makes it quite interesting.
So does that mean that you're visiting like Monaco, Saint-Tropez, all these like super expensive places to check out the latest in yachts, or is it not as glamorous?
Yes, I went to Monaco quite, I think for 3 or 4 times. Nice. I think it's part of it. Let's say it's nice to get a glimpse of that of the yacht world. I think that for the recruitment purposes, it's not yet. Let's say it's not. I didn't get that much out of it. It's more of networking, which is again a huge part of working in recruitment. To shake some hands, to show your face, also to get the taste of what you're actually working for or with.
Okay, so how do you find the right person for the job? Because I can imagine with yacht building, it's like you said, it's a pretty big niche, and I'm guessing it's a lot of different skills required, right? I mean, you got the guys that build the ship, but I suppose there's also the interior to think about. Isn't it like really hard to find the right guys or girls?
It's quite a complex question, or rather answer. I think what makes a yacht something specific is that it's actually a floating hotel, usually a 5-star hotel. So if you are a very, 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 very rich person, you already have a villa in every cool place in the world, and you bought 10 cars, then you get a yacht. It's like the ultimate success show off that shows your status. So I also think very specific people go for being a yacht owner. One thing is of course to get a yacht, which is quite expensive on its own, but to maintain it later on, it's another story. So you need to have a big cash load to actually go for that decision. And your question was actually about how do I find the right person. I think first of all you need to get to know the industry. I'm not an engineer from my background. I actually think majority of recruiters or HR related people, they come from something completely different, and they became who they are based on their potential or their soft skills. And I think the main thing is to be a good listener. I think this is very important to be a good recruiter. So first of all, you need to get the industry quite well, get to know it. You need to get the client, to get to know the client very well. You need to make a connection with the hiring manager, also with your contact person within the company, which usually is the HR person or the internal recruiter. And then, of course, you focus on networking among your potential candidates, and that's also quite a broad story how you do that.
Okay.
So based on that, I was going to ask, like, from your point of view, because you said like you are not an engineer, does a recruiter or a person who is recruiting someone, does it make a difference if this person actually did the job before? Is it more beneficial or not really?
I don't think so, and I'm an example of that. I think at the beginning when I started, I had absolutely no idea what the engineering consists of. Of course, I was reading a lot about it, doing the research, talking to people, and I think what I mentioned before, being a good listener really helps you, because you call someone not even with the purpose of getting him a job or recruiting him, but you really ask deep questions about what they do. And I think majority of engineers, of course, I don't want to generalize, but I think majority of engineers are still guys, and they like to really brag and talk about what they do. So
no,
I think
don't.
It's a good combination. I think it's a good combination if you really call them like with genuine interest, and you just tell them, hey, I'm new in it. Can you please explain me what you do? And you just ask one question after another, and they were really, really eager to talk about it and to explain it. So I think that was very helpful to get that approach for people really wanting you to understand what they do, and that's how I learned.
So that was, you kind of touched upon the question that I was going to ask. Well, I'm going to ask it again. So it's quite an interesting journey, right? You mentioned you've been doing this for about 10 years now, and by vocation you are a Spanish teacher and a translator. How do you? Well, I'm curious about how did you end up doing this, and you partially maybe, and which of the traits that you maybe from your vocation you took over and you implemented and used here, maybe which ones did you discover that you didn't even did you had before?
I think it was quite an interesting turn of events. Actually the job found me. I didn't look for it actively. I think this is one of the happy coincidences, which are quite interesting when they happen. I think there is a very big connection and a bridge between what it takes to be a teacher and a recruiter. Because first of all, I think being a good recruiter requires having the general interest in people, and what I mentioned again, being a good listener, showing interest, being focused on someone one-on-one, getting a personal approach. Also not being afraid to just go there and talk to someone you don't know, and for the teacher it's more like passing the knowledge, but also being very receptive to what your students ask for or need. And I think that's something that I found in recruitment as well, at least at the beginning.
Okay, and your company that Van Storm, you're a partner there. So are you like a co-owner, or how should I see it?
Yeah, we created Van Storm together with a couple of my partners. Actually, the aim was to for everyone to be a partner, everyone who joins as well. This is the part that it was one of the reasons why we created Van Storm, to be able to do recruitment in a way that we believe is the best. So in a more relaxed environment, without hard targets, focusing more on quality, not quantity. And those are the people that we are looking for to join our team, and those are the hard points that are required for someone to work with us.
Is it like, because yacht building, I can imagine, happens all across the world, so do you also try and find people all across the world for clients everywhere, or do you focus on the Netherlands? I don't really know too much about the actual yacht building industry, where that happens, if it's like where the manufacturing happens.
I think if you look at the global yacht building, the top players are definitely Germany and the Netherlands. When you look at the shipyards and design offices, and the clients come from all over the world. I think majority it's Asia and the States. We focus on cooperating with Dutch companies, so for now located in the Netherlands, and it depends on the clients. Some of them are very open for expats, for international candidates. Others are quite closed, and they prefer Dutch or Dutch-speaking engineers. So the candidates come from all over the world.
I mean, you mentioned engineers, but I can imagine, like, to keep a yacht afloat, you also need like a captain, and you need all kinds of personnel. Is that also people that you can recruit, or is it mostly focused on the building? And once the building is complete, then your job is also done.
Exactly. My job is never done.
Well, for that yacht, I guess, right?
It's those are two separate things. One is a team that actually makes it happen, that the yacht is being created, first invented, engineered, designed, produced, and then you have a crew. So captain is a part of the crew, and that's something that is out of my reach. It depends on the owner.
Okay.
And like, why would you create your own company on recruitment and not just join as a recruiter from one of those big yacht builders? Like, what would be the motivation to have a recruitment company? Or would you say, like, let's say for one of our customers, they are discussing that, right? Like, should I hire my own recruiter, or should I hire a company like yours to hire developers? What would be your take in this?
I think both options are good. It depends on what you want personally. I think the way how we do it, at least for me as someone in recruitment, working as an external company that provides recruitment services, I think it makes it much more interesting because I have several clients. If you are in-house recruiter, you focus only on one company, and of course you also have some kind of restrictions. There might be some kind of gentleman's agreements between certain companies that say we don't steal people from each other, or we don't recruit people from each other without knowing it before. I don't have that. Of course, I'm not going to recruit actively from from my clients, the companies I work with. But then also I decide myself about the restrictions. So those are two completely different approaches, two dynamics. It really depends on what the person wants.
But like you don't see it, for example, for like a company that is very small, it's more beneficial to just hiring a recruitment company, and a company that is like huge with thousands of employees would be probably better be having their own recruitment. Or you also think that if a company has thousands of employees, it would still beneficial to hire an outsider recruitment company?
I think it depends on the strategy and what the company needs. If you plan to grow and double your size within 1 year, I think it makes sense to either hire a professional and specialized team of recruiters, or you go to an external company and give an exclusive assignment for someone to focus on it. I think it's the same as you take any decision to outsource a certain service. So it can be you can outsource your payroll or marketing or recruitment. It's just to go for a person that is really, really specialized in a certain topic.
Yeah. So the yacht sector is quite an exotic, at least for me, I guess for us, and mostly probably for our audience. And we are all coming from the digital IT sector. How would recruitment be different? And this is what we're familiar with, so I'm curious, how do you think recruitment would be different between the sector where you're operating and the sector where we are?
I cannot really have an opinion about recruitment within IT because I never did that. I only heard some stories, but I think
that's good to hear. Maybe share some of those stories.
we heard. I think we focus on similar types of people, meaning engineers, which are majority beta profiles. So it's quite different from people working in, let's say, marketing or advertisements. I think it requires certain special approach to the type of people you speak to, or you try to make a connection with, or at the end recruit, or just have in your network.
Beta profiles?
Yeah, it's not alpha, it's beta. It's someone that is more an introvert, focused more, could be very happy just working with the computer, doesn't need any interaction, maybe doesn't even like human interaction, or is not very good.
Does that apply to you,
at
Panche?
Communication.
I don't know.
Are you a beta?
Yeah. Okay. And so, I mean, you said that a lot about your work is about listening to the client, but also to the potential recruit, I guess. So that's like a lot of soft skills involved. But are there also like more hard skills involved in terms of like managing your work or keeping a list of stuff to do, or like is it only soft skills that you need as a recruiter?
Definitely not. I think it's I think soft skills are more important than hard skills. I think hard skills you can learn. Of course, another different story is if you're going to enjoy performing certain tasks that are not natural for you. Let's say administration and keeping everything, all the files in order is not my strongest point. It's not my passion. But of course, you need to do it to build up a well-functioning database, which is super helpful later on in the recruitment process.
Okay.
And like one thing that I always struggle a lot when I like follow social media or like I'm on LinkedIn, right? And I get like every week a lot of emails offering me jobs, and it's just this highly automated, unpersonal kind of request. And is that something that like how does this come to be, right? It's just so easy to just bombard people with those kind of unpersonalized message that is actually worth it? Or how do you see this? Is it? And I also see a lot of complaints because they focus a lot on the hard skills, and they just put like a lot of keywords. But I found it quite frustrating, like receiving as person just receiving those emails every week. And then I'm wondering like how effective that is. Do you have any idea how this works?
Well, I'm not being bombarded with all those messages, so I don't know.
Do you bombard?
You're the one doing the bombardment?
Yeah, I don't bombard
I
them.
also don't bombard anyone. I think that, of course, technology is supposed to make our life easier. I think this is usually the aim. But I also noticed that I think the technology makes us lazy as well in some points. And if you automate one thing, then you want to automate another one, and then the question is, where does it end? And as much as the yes.
This is the wrong audience to complain about automation, Dominika. They're gonna bite off your head.
Hey, go ahead. But first, listen to my argument.
Wow.
I
like
am
that.
listening. I think they're building counter arguments as you talk. No, just go ahead.
I think there are two sides of it. One is the human parts of recruitment, so interaction between two people. I think you cannot automate that. Second part is, for example, also a big thing of our focus is the relocation. If someone comes from another country to build up his life here, we find him a job, but we also assist him in setting up a completely new life. And that part I would love to be as automated as possible, because you need to fill in a lot of forms, being in touch with the tax office, with the expat center, etc. And unfortunately, it also cannot be done because those are quite traditional organizations that certain forms still need to be filled in by hand and using a scanner, etc. People don't even use the signature in PDF. It goes to those levels. So yes, I'm all up for automation in that part. However, I noticed that the automation or technology, I think it also makes recruiters quite lazy, because it's very easy to send a batch of 30 emails, or every recruiter gets immediately a special feature as a LinkedIn recruiter that you can just contact anyone you want. When I started, it wasn't there. I actually had to connect personally with everyone, send an invitation, maybe write a short message why I want to connect. And this is also how I learned, and I still do that. If I reach out to someone, of course, there are certain hard skills you base your search on. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to reach out to someone. But I'm also thinking, how complete is your profile on LinkedIn or your CV even? Sometimes when I receive CVs from people, I see that it's also some kind of art to write a good CV, to actually put on paper not only what you can do, but also what you would like to do, what you are capable of. And I think a lot of recruiters, they just scroll down to, okay, which software do you want? Do you know? Hobbies are not important. Which kind of person is not important? I totally disagree with that approach. And I think that automation will never work in that matter. It will never substitute human interaction and actually looking for those soft skills.
And so,
Pancha, you can bite my head off now.
Oh, I was trying to protect you. I'm on board with you. I'm not full automation, but the other colleagues of mine,
not at all. I'm actually
is like all fully automation.
No. I think on this subject, I think we all agree with it, right? It's like, it's definitely the human side of things is never going to go away. And I think there is definitely a lot that can be automated, but I don't, like, it's part of our process, right? Like, if you want to even join ForScout, you have to work with us for a full day. And we actually don't even look at CVs. CVs is irrelevant for us. And
that didn't happen with me.
Yeah, but I already knew you, so...
Yeah, exactly.
we vouched for you. I vouched for you.
Yeah.
No, but so I think I agree with you, and it's just that it's, and I actually just wonder if it actually works. I have to find some person who has to tell me, like, yeah, we send 1,000 emails, we always get at least two, and that's why it's worth it, right? It's like this guy who just keep going on a party and hitting every girl, and then suddenly one says yes, and then whoa, night is a success, right? So I can imagine that works that way as well.
I would hate it at least to have
I can tell you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
I can
you have
tell
so
you.
much
I
to
can.
say.
I can tell you where it works. It works in companies that you have targets. As a recruiter, you get a target from your supervisor. You need to make 20 phone calls every day. You need to send out 100 messages. Then you don't care. You couldn't care less who you contact, because you just want to meet the target, because this is what is required from your supervisor, and what your supervisor needs to report to his supervisor. So it's like
Is that common practice?
it's like a domino effect. Yeah, I think so. In some companies, I think it is.
Is it also because it's something you started and you said I don't want to identify myself as a recruiter, but that you work in recruitment, and I think, I don't know if you experience the same, but I know that in our sector, recruiters, and I'm putting that in question marks, it's like doesn't have the best ring to people in the world. A lot of people just roll their eyes when they think of recruiters because of the things that Hike mentioned. Is it also common in your sector as well? Or is it just like a general sentiment?
No, only IT people hate me.
We don't. We invited
so
you
far
here.
so good. I don't hate you
and
just yet.
And I don't even work in IT recruitment, so I don't understand. Well, I mentioned it to Enrique once that I have some friends in IT, and they work with recruiters, and every time they see me, they say like, "Shit, I hate recruiters," and then we have a laugh about it and we talk. But of course, I'm not surprised, because all the things that you described, like the impersonal approach and just one-sided communication, it doesn't make people like you. And I think maybe what I mentioned with not calling myself a recruiter also is related to the fact that we focus on so many other things as well. Like a huge part of my job is HR related. For the first year, at least, when we are still the legal employer of someone that we consulted, I'm kind of a contact point for everything that happens, and helping with relocation, with evaluations, with planning the evaluations and learning development plans. So it's not just get a contract signed, next one. It's much wider
it's more
process.
like a fuller service of recruitment, onboarding, and partially HR.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually quite interesting, because then you build a relationship with your candidate, and then you build up further on that. So your motivation is fully different than if it would be only driven by numbers.
Definitely. It's really nice. It's really nice to see that sometimes people that I didn't even consult, but maybe spoke to 5, 7, 10 years ago, they still come back and knock to my door. I strongly believe people do business with people, not with companies. And if you made a good impression, if you made a good connection, if you show them what your intrinsic motivation is to do what you do, I think you can call yourself a successful recruiter, even if you don't meet the targets.
How do you know that you, like, when you do one of these trajects of like finding somebody for a position and then all that, how do you know that you've done a good job? Like, what is the moment, or like what are you looking for that you say, okay, this went great, I'm getting so much energy out of this? Can you describe that? Like, at which point do you know that this was a success, this placing is a success?
That's a good question. I think it also depends on the person. With one person, I would feel very successful and fulfilled if I see them, let's say, a couple of years down the line, still working in the company that I consulted them for, and really having a great career. It's also a success if there's some complicated situation with the relocation, for example, and I managed to solve it. Basically, I think the people being grateful, this is for me what brings me the biggest energy. And it's also related to my main motivation to do the job, to help people achieve something that they want to achieve. start up a new life and new career and help them with that.
I think being in a position where you are, because when you're working with people and trying to get people to work for you or for a company that you vouch for, at least for me, one of the greatest things had been like, oh man, when they would say, this has happened a while, after a long time can happen, is like, oh, I chose for this company or I chose for that because of this talk that I had with you or because of the person. So in the end, what you said, people choose to work with people and not with companies because companies couldn't really, companies is what it is sort of an abstract entity that becomes real in the eyes of the people.
Yeah, that's true. They always say commit yourself to an idea, not to a place or a person or a company, because everything can change. But if you follow your idea, of course, any idea can change as well. But I think it's something higher than all the other things.
And I was wondering, how do you recognize a good client? Because you just mentioned LinkedIn, for example, and I know from my field of work that we can also look at these public code repositories for programmers. Like, this guy has some publicly available code. I can check it out and see his work. But I can imagine for ship engineers, like, there's this yacht, and you can look at the yacht and it looks good. But like, how do you judge the quality of these people if there's just LinkedIn, or do you also have other types of social media and other platforms that you can use?
Maybe some of this yacht is synced already, and then like, that was not a good job.
That's true, but I think they wouldn't put it on their CV then.
I think they should. At least they know how to do wrong, right? Yeah.
Yeah, could be. Depends what they learned from it. Rolf, I think you said clients first, and then I think you meant candidates, right?
Candidates, like the engineers that's going to build the yacht. That's what I mean. How do you recognize them, and is there other platforms or portfolios you can check out next to LinkedIn?
Of course, LinkedIn is the main connecting platform. I think I have built my network that is quite good in the last years. I think, of course, there is something like referrals. So you talk to people, someone can recommend someone. I actually got a couple of very good leads for people that didn't even have LinkedIn. And that's quite unusual, I think, in these times. Of course, LinkedIn is super popular, which also means that everyone is using it. So you have quite a big competition. You need to also go to some other measures and ways to approach and to find good people. I think I try to always make a combination of soft and hard skills. I think if we make the connection to the automated recruitment, I think you can have great algorithms or use AI to somehow filter some CVs. But I think there are also a lot of people that have an amazing potential to fill in a certain role. And it all starts with making a good connection with the clients, getting to know the character also of the hiring manager or the technical manager in the departments, because I think majority of the work consists on matching someone character-wise with the person. With hard skills, I think depends also for which role. Of course, if you look for someone with 10 years of experience, it is not negotiable. The person needs to have experience with certain things. But I guess it always comes down to soft skills. And I've seen it happening so many times. Someone being actually rejected based on the wrong personality, rather than being rejected because they didn't know certain software, etc. This is something you can always learn. You cannot learn how to communicate, how to be a good communicator, or how to be naturally a good speaker.
I think you can, right? It's just more effort, maybe.
That's the question. Can you learn anything? I think you can, but is it going to give you energy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you also help people place them in the country, for example, you said. So maybe also one thing you can do for them is send them on communication courses and stuff, I guess, if that's an option.
I prefer to send them for a software course.
Okay.
So it's easier.
It's easier.
I understand.
And I also don't believe that someone who is, as I described, like a typical beta profile. I don't think any of you is actually a typical beta.
Thanks a lot.
I don't know if it's a compliment. It's just
I feel very alpha right now.
Yeah. Well, you're talking to three guys and you're using words like alpha and beta, man. It's
I didn't say you are not alpha either, right? I think it will be too much outside of someone's comfort zone for a lot of people. Also, sometimes you can see that quite often that someone is very good at their job. Let's say someone is an engineer. He's amazing at what he's doing. What happens? Bam! He's promoted to a team leader. Suddenly, all his tasks are changing, and he doesn't do the engineering anymore. But he takes the promotion because, for example, the company doesn't have the right career path for someone to become a senior engineer. And then the problems start because he might be doing it, but he will be so exhausted at the end of the day that,
that's the worst scenario, right?
Doesn't even make sense.
They lose a good engineer and they get a horrible team lead.
Exactly. Just another sucky supervisor that the world needs. So no, I don't think it's a good idea. And it should be more implemented in the strategy of companies, which doesn't always happen.
And I have another question, maybe you can explain. Speaking with a lot of friends in the past, also mostly in IT, like when they are like in a junior positions, they are like, oh, I want to change jobs, but I don't know where to go, right? And I found it fascinating that still a lot of people do not know that you can actually contact a recruitment company and they will find a job for you. So maybe can you like explain to us and to people who are listening, like which kind of recruitment companies there is and like what they could expecting from them and maybe how they should consider like, I'm going to hire this company then, or figure out, I'm going to hire Dominika's company because I share the same values. Do you get my question?
Yes. I cannot talk on behalf of every company. I can tell you what I know about it. I think if you are quite lost in not knowing even what you want to do, or you're considering a career switch, etc., I think it's good to go to a career coach, like a professional coach that will also maybe dig deeper into your personality or what gives you energy, what takes energy out of you. While recruitment company is something a bit different. I'm not sure if I would be able to advise a career switch to an IT person.
But not a career switch, but like a company switch, like just a different company. People just struggle like, I open LinkedIn, I don't know how to search for a company or the kind of job that I should. They just don't know how to search it. For example.
In my market, definitely yes, because I know my clients very well, and I also know the limits or the opportunities. So if I know that someone says I want to be a project manager, I can tell them straight away what they need to do to become one day, or even sometimes to forget about it because I know that there is some kind of a glass ceiling and it will never happen because there are very hard requirements that this person will never meet. So when it comes to my market, I think yes. And of course, I don't cooperate with every company there is in the sector, but at least I think I have quite a big understanding of them.
Okay. Yeah, because like, for example, I remember I got 2 jobs actually through recruitment, like recruiters. And I remember the first time that actually happened was in Holland. And I was a bit shocked that they do the whole work and I pay nothing. Like was totally free for me. And then later on, I understood how at least the business model works and that the company pays for it. And that's why I'm saying like for candidates, like, they have nothing to lose. Or do you guys think they have something to lose going directly to a recruitment?
No, definitely. I don't think they have anything to lose. I think nowadays it's quite a common idea to contact a recruiter. I think what's important is for people to know not to contact 10 different recruiters, but to focus on one. Give them, if you have a good feeling, give them certain type of exclusivity for a couple of weeks, and let them do the job. Otherwise, you end up in a situation that your CV is flying all over the country. You have no idea where your data is being sent to. Not everyone informs you properly about it. So this is usually my advice to people when I speak to them, to also keep track of what's happening with their personal details. And sometimes I get questions from people like, hey, what do I owe you? Like, how does it look? And then I always just say, you just have to smile and shake my hand if when it's possible, finally, one day. So from the candidate, there's no cost whatsoever. It's actually getting a lot of benefits from working with an external recruiter that can give them an overview of the markets.
Have you never had a moment where you put a lot of time and effort and energy into a candidate only for him or her to reject the offer in the end, and then I'm assuming there is zero in it for you? Has that happened a lot, and how frustrating is that?
Oof, it happened a lot. It happened a lot, and of course you can take it as a failure and be sad, or it can give you more motivation to just go forward and really be determined to find the right person. It happens quite a lot. I think what you get from it is always still a valuable candidate. Maybe he says no now, but you never know what's going to happen in some time. It happens.
So you work normally, I would imagine, as an external party. You work a lot with recruiting manager within your clients, correct?
Usually it's like an internal HR person or internal recruiter or directly hiring manager who is also a technical manager. It depends on the company.
So I've never been on the position where you have been, but I've worked as an internal hiring manager, and I've worked also with external recruiters. And it's quite interesting, and I want to hear how do you do this. But I've had experiences where with some recruiters it just like really easily works, and it seems like we're understanding each other really easily, and they understand our needs, and they follow up, and they communicate clearly, and they kind of become your right hand. And that for me had worked like amazingly. So it's not up to me to remind the recruiter weekly, okay, can you give me the latest update? But it's like the information need is always there. Now, from your perspective, have you had clients and as a companies that, well, with some it works easier, with others it works more difficult, and why could that be the case?
Definitely, it's also very personal. Sometimes you can have two different types of experience, even with the same company. Depends on the person, if the person changes. I think a lot depends also on a personal click. And I think it's also sometimes it's better if I'm the contact person for someone. Sometimes we decide it's going to be one of my partners, so it's we don't force anything, and usually the client chooses, or we see ourselves what works better. It also depends on what the client wants. Sometimes they say, hey, I don't need you to contact me every week. I will let you know when we have something. Sometimes we get an email when they are looking for someone. With majority of my clients, I have such a relation that if I have someone that I think they would really fit in the company, I'm always allowed to send them for so-called open application, and then we see what happens.
And are you also involved in the part of the negotiation process, or is that something that the clients do directly themselves?
No, definitely. I am involved in that. We always laugh that recruitment is the hardest type of sales, because it's like, imagine selling a car and the car talks back and the car has an opinion and it says, no, I don't want to be bought by that guy. I want to be bought by that lady. So it's really tough, because you have to manage expectations of both sides constantly. And you need to be some kind of a messenger. And of course, you want the best for your candidates, because they also trust you to negotiate the best package. But at the same time, when we talk about the secondary conditions or also the salary, it always comes from the client because they need to fit in the internal scale of salaries that the client has. So as an external recruiter, we can offer also some other benefits like educational course, etc., or the relocation help. But when we talk about the main package, it's usually what the client offers. And of course, there is always some kind of negotiation, but that also depends how far it can go.
Okay.
Would you ditch like a candidate that is just not skilled enough? Would you say, I'm sorry, I cannot work with you because I can't place you anywhere? Or how does that work?
Yeah, definitely. It's not that I consult everyone who applies. I also want to be very honest. But at the same time, I try to say what they could work on. And I think that's something that should be also included in the application process. If you get a rejection, of course, if you get 1,000 CVs every day, it's hard to personally reply to everyone giving tips. But if recruitment is our main specialty, then if I can, I always take the time to do that.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest things that the recruiters actually can do if they actually care about people is give them an open and honest feedback, especially in people. What Enrique mentions is you see that they have potential, you see they have the right attitude, but at this point you cannot place them anywhere because, well, maybe they miss certain skills.
Yeah.
So offering them proper feedback, like how to get that and work with them, it's really beneficial for everybody. And then you build maybe a friend for forever, and then become your well, not client, but your customer in the end.
Yeah, definitely. And you never know where people end up. Like maybe the guy that I'm talking to will be a manager engineering one day, and then we can do business, etc. So, as I mentioned, a huge part of recruitment is not only actively approaching candidates, but also hanging out with the passive ones, just to build up your network and to stay updated with all the market developments. And that's what you do by talking to people.
Yeah. And I was wondering, because you mentioned that rich people end up buying a yacht after they got the houses and the cars and everything. So I can imagine like yachts are not really getting built every day. So do you also have like dry spells of saying like, I get all these candidates, but no spot to place them because right now they're just not building any yachts? Or is there enough rich people to go around that there's always some yachts being built somewhere?
I think the second one. I think there are always there will always be some rich people that want a yacht or another one or the third one or a new one. It's quite common to, for example, change the whole interior of a yacht if you get a new girlfriend or wife.
Wow, that's expensive.
It is expensive, but at the same time, I think a lot of companies talk about being more sustainable nowadays. I think in a lot of cases it's just a buzzword, but in a lot of them something is actually being done about it. And I think if you look at the yacht sector, there is really a lot to do that can be done. And I think what makes a vessel a yacht is actually the interior, because as I mentioned, it's like a floating 5-star hotel. So the interior is really top notch, very expensive materials, very famous designers.
Like Louis Vuitton curtains and stuff like that? Yeah.
Yes,
nice.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Cool. And so, like we said on your resume, it says that you used to be a Spanish teacher. So if someone were to offer you a job to teach Spanish to a class, would you take it or would you remain a recruiter?
Wow, that's a tough question. I think my Spanish became quite rusty in the last 10 years because I didn't work as a teacher. I try to speak Spanish as much as I can with friends and read Spanish books and watch movies. So I think it still stays on the shelf of a hobby, let's say, or a passion.
So you don't need subtitles for Casa de Papel, for example?
No, but I haven't
you
watched
should.
it yet.
That's
No, I
my
haven't
tip
watched
for
it
you.
yet.
It's a good,
Okay,
it's a good
thank you.
series. Actually, Henrique, I think,
Those were
put me
peop-
onto that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Those were people that can afford to buy a yacht or two.
Those actors, yeah,
Yes.
probably, yeah.
All right. I doubt it, actually.
And I have another question now because I experienced lately, as I said, I'm doing a lot of interviews, and I always have this, and we do quite long interviews, right? We work together for a few hours, and at some point of the, like, you just know there is no click, right? There is just not a match. It's just not gonna work, and I always feel guilty for basically interrupting and saying, "I'm sorry, this is not gonna work. We should stop it here and not waste both of our time." It's like, do you have a tip for me how to end an interview gracefully when there is just not a connection? Maybe even the skills, it's okay, but the connection is just not there.
Well, I think it's a great idea to work with an external recruiter, because then they can tell the person there was no click. Sorry, it's not going to work.
Yeah, but I'm still in the middle of it, right? It's like we do an interview for 4 hours. We work together for 4 hours to see. And then should I continue working with this person for 4 hours, wasting both of our time, even though I know it's not going to work? Or should I just say after 1 hour, man, yeah, this is just going nowhere?
Yeah, I think it's up to you. Also, what you believe in, it's like if you go on a date, if you don't have a click on the first date, are you going to go for the second? I think not.
No, do you leave the first date
Yeah,
early?
exactly.
Like, do you not wait for dessert? Like, okay, we're having dinner first date, and then like during the main course, it's like, okay, I don't really like this person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, putting that way, I would probably wait for dessert, but unless it's really unpleasant.
Because it can be, right?
It can be very unpleasant, sure. And it can be very unpleasant. And I think, like, it happens to me, right? Like, I got a very bad review from a candidate. Like, I hate this interview. And at some point I was like, how much is that on me? How much is that on the candidate, right? Because I can also understand that there is different style of interviews. Or is one of these cases that the customer is always right and it's always my problem as an interviewer?
I think it's a very good idea what you have to actually work with someone for some time. In general, if you think of interviews, it's like 1 hour and then you get maybe 2 interviews. I think it's way too little time to actually be sure if this is the right person and for the person to know if this is the right company. I think spending half a day somewhere should always be a part of the process. Of course, usually it's not possible because of some confidential information, projects, etc. Depends on the company. I think maybe if you have those cases, maybe you should schedule the first time, for 2 hours instead of 4.
Yeah.
I think it's still enough to get the idea if there's a click or not. Also having in mind that probably the person that comes for the interview is quite nervous and stressed.
Yeah, very much.
It can be, I think, easily translated into being excited. And maybe that helps people as well. If you look at everything that is happening with your body, in your brain, I think those are very similar interactions and processes. So if you just translate it to your brain, hey, I'm actually excited, not nervous, I think it can eliminate a lot of problems as well. Maybe someone is not being themselves during those 4 hours, and then you also are not able to get to know them.
True. Because this is an interesting thing you're mentioning, Hick, but I wanted to ask Dominika, can you share with us what are some of the most fun or most awkward interview moments that you've had?
I'm not sure if it's not confidential.
You're not mentioning names, I hope.
I'm not sure. Nothing like really funny or awkward comes to my mind. Maybe, sometimes people go very personal, and that's I try maybe not to go that personal already during the first talk. Of course, depends also if there's a click or not. Couple of times, like a wife joined the interview suddenly, not on my request, but just like to ask some questions.
What?
So that was funny. It also happened a couple of times that I spoke to a spouse or a partner to answer some questions, but that was usually on a later stage. And especially if you relocate the whole family, okay, you look for a job for one person, and then it's not just that person, it comes with a package. So you need to think about usually the wife. Does she speak English? Is she gonna find a job? Is she gonna be happy without the job? What about the kids? Do you want to send them to a Dutch school, to international school? How is it gonna be? So it's really the full package that sometimes you really you are part of to a very huge extent.
Yeah. And did you sometimes have place the people here in the Netherlands, and then 2 months later they called you and said I'm miserable here, I want to go back?
Yes, it happens. Then of course you try to somehow solve the situation. It's not always possible. I think that the recruitment process is very important to actually tackle all possible problems.
You want to prevent it.
Exactly. Usually it's there is always a face-to-face interview as well. We fly someone in to see the company, get the feeling of the country, of the city, go and stay a weekend in a place where you might be living.
And who pays for that? The candidate, the company, or you?
Well, we usually pay for the flight and the interview costs for the candidates. We organize it together with them. Of course, sometimes it happens that they were planning to visit friends, etc., and we can combine it together. I think with the current situation, almost everyone I speak to, they either have been to the Netherlands already or they have some friends. So there's always some connection to the country, to the culture.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I think Sylvester only paid for dinner once for me when I did the interviews with 4 Scouts. So, getting...
Well, the same with me, was a dinner as well. But I guess now my next holiday is going to be applying for a job somewhere, get a recruiter to buy my flight tickets, and I spend every weekend somewhere.
Yes, this is how it works.
All right, so we're running out of time. Although we don't really have a hard deadline or anything, but we're closing in on the hour. So I don't know if you guys have any more questions for Dominika, or Dominika, maybe you have some questions for us.
I think we could still talk for
Probably,
2 hours.
yeah.
I think
For sure, that's no doubt.
Even about some funny stories related to yachts or stories with candidates. I think I have a lot of that. But
so why didn't you share? I just asked.
Oh, when did you ask? Oh, the awkward. You asked for awkward. I didn't have any awkward.
Well, fun is also good.
Awkward,
Yeah, fun story.
Well, for example, I think not a lot of people know that one of the yacht building shipyards in the Netherlands was partially owned by Donald Trump in the 80s. Cool. And that was quite a funny story because he ordered a yacht, and keep in mind it was around 40 years ago, and he ordered a 120-meter yacht, which still for now it's quite a huge yacht. So imagine what it meant 40 years ago. You can love him or hate him, but I think he is still a visionary in a lot of subjects. So he ordered the yachts, but in the meantime, something went wrong. I think he lost a lot of money. And of course, if you back off from the process as an owner, you pay a lot of fee, a lot of penalty.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he calculated it, and it turned out that it's actually cheaper for him to buy the whole shipyard and take the decision of not giving himself a penalty for acquiring the shipyard. So I think he bought it, and a couple of months later he sold it. So yeah, that was funny. There are still a lot of pictures of him flying in the helicopter from Schiphol to visit the yard, etc.
That's funny.
Also, quite a lot of famous people. They have yachts built in the Netherlands. Steve Jobs, of course, and Steven Spielberg. Their yachts, for example, were built here.
What's the most expensive yacht that you were involved in? Do you know? When it's during the construction process or still engineering, it's everything is confidential. Oh, okay.
So you might maybe know the length, etc. The biggest yacht built in the Netherlands is 110
Okay.
meters till now. I think it was a couple of years ago. It was made a couple of years ago. Of course, the length of the yachts is going crazy. Actually the biggest one in the world was built in 2013, and now the new biggest one will be finished this year, according to the plan. But it's also quite interesting. If you think of a yacht, of course you think of luxury, and you think of money, and some crazy billionaire just
Somebody has to tell them that it's not
billion.
about the size.
Definitely. I think it applies to many more things. It's not about the size; it's about what you can do with it.
Yes.
And that really applies to the one that is being built now. It will be 183 meters, and it's actually an expedition and research yacht. So it was ordered by a Norwegian billionaire. And the main aim of it is to actually create awareness of anything related to the environment, what's happening with the oceans, with the plastic pollution, with overfishing, with the climate change. So it has space to accommodate over 90 scientists and I think 30 crew members, something like that. So the main aim is not to go to the Caribbean and just have fun, but to actually being able to do the research on the spot in many places of
And
the
be
world
comfortable,
with a
and
higher
be comfortable
aim.
while doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Research
finishing your paper in a
Yeah.
jacuzzi. Who wouldn't want that? It also changed a bit. Of course, it's a big part of marketing, but I think that the yacht world is also changing slowly.
How has it changed throughout the pandemic?
I don't think there was like a concrete report about it yet when it comes to the numbers or like concrete facts. A lot of companies, of course, they had a hiring freeze. The question is if it was really needed or it was more related to the restrictions of also relocating people from abroad, for example. I think this is the biggest difficulty at this moment. I think actually more people made the decision to build a yacht in terms of having their own shelter and not being restricted by planes, by hotels, by a virus. They could just jump on the yacht and sail and have a holiday. What they pay attention to is also like for example, how much time they can stay in the sea. Without actually visiting the harbor for supplies, for fuel. So that's another story, and I think there will be a big research and development in that case.
All right. Well, so I think that wraps it up for today. I guess to end it, we have two questions for you. Like, so how can someone recognize a good recruitment company? Or do you have any tips for people to find the right company for their recruitment?
I think it's much more related to a click than we think, but that's something that you know only when you actually get to talk to someone. I think if you notice that someone has more personal approach instead of just recognizing the typical message that probably other 100 people received. Again, maybe someone doesn't mind that message. It's really personal. For someone, I think for different people, the definition of a good recruiter will be different.
Okay.
I think you need to have a click.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. And I mean, it said on your LinkedIn that you are a veggie baker and cook. So of course, I have to ask you for your if you have a tip for us, like your favorite veggie recipe or anything that you bake, like.
I really like to bake. I think all my friends always ask me to bake cakes.
What's your specialty?
For them. Cheesecake,
Okay.
I think.
Nice.
Oh, good to know.
Like a typical.
Next one we're doing in our office, and you're bringing cheesecake.
All right. Yes. I think last week I made a combination of brownie and cheesecake, and my boyfriend said that it's like the best one, especially in the Netherlands, and I should pitch it to a coffee shops.
Okay.
He is biased. Ah, did you put mushrooms in it or what?
No, but it's like if you are stoned and then you really want to eat,
Yeah, okay.
you're like hesitating. Should I get a cheesecake or brownie? And then you don't have a choice, so you don't need to take a choice. So
Makes sense.
that's the best one.
Convenience.
All right. And Panche, what's your tip for the listener? Do you have any?
Oh, my
Yeah?
tip for the
Do you have
listener. Yes. Try to get up in the morning as early as 5 and start the day very, very early with a cold shower and a workout.
Damn it, man. That's a whole lifestyle change. Not a
I
tip.
pass.
Yes. You'll feel awesome.
Okay. Well, I'll give it a shot, man, but I can't promise anything. And Heek, what about you? Do you have a tip for the listener?
Well, if you're searching for a job, I would definitely recommend to just contact any recruitment company and see, as Dominika said, if there is a click.
Yep.
And then if there is a click, then let them work with you. And I think you have a greater chance of finding something in a shorter time. I would say that it worked for me in the past, so I don't see why it wouldn't work for other people as well.
All right. Yeah, man. Get the best deal
And
possible
you?
for you. Oh, that's my tip, right? For everyone out there.
Yeah.
Get the best deal possible for yourself, right? Because, that's the most important thing. So that's it, I guess. I mean, if you're super rich and listening, then you can always contact Dominika for all your yacht needs. And you can also contact me if you want to do stuff with me, you know. No, I'm joking. The website is www.vanstorm.nl, if I'm not mistaken, Dominika. Yeah,
Yes,
so
that's
check
correct.
that out. And thanks everyone for listening. If you have a tip or a suggestion for us, then you can always reach us on Twitter at 4scouts or on the email podcast@4scouts.nl. Dominika, thank you very much for coming here. It was an honor. And
Thank you very much. I actually realized I didn't get the chance to ask you anything,
that's okay.
but I guess it was just too short.
Yeah, maybe next time. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Scoutcast, Roasting Marshmallows, with your host, Rolf Surd. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit 4scouts.nl and on Twitter @4scouts. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Scoutcast, Roasting Marshmallows.